Alright, hello there. We're actually going to do the replay format, and so I already played these games, and I'm going to go over them in depth, all my decision making, and I actually played these matches on stream, so if you want to see me play these in real time as well, you can go to twitch.tv/ArsenalMunch and check out the replays there. But I'm going to give in-depth analysis here after the fact. So I picked the most interesting matches and we'll go over them. Alright, so this hand is actually a really difficult decision. We're on the draw against an unknown opponent, and we have two lands, one of which is Aether Hub, two Incendiary Flows, and then Tireless Tracker, which is good if we hit our third land, and Aetherworks Marvel, which is not very good in this hand, but could be good if we're up against like Black-Green Delirium. Against black, if I knew I was against Black-Green, I think I would keep this for sure. Happily keep this. In the dark though, like this hand isn't very good against a Smuggler's Copter, is the issue with this hand. I think it's actually reasonable to mulligan or keep. I decided to keep though, so, and I think that's right. I mean, we're likely to hit our third land drop, and then this hand is just good, solid. Yeah. The issue, of course, is we can Incendiary Flow once, but then if we don't find a red source or energy, then we cannot do anything because we won't have energy for red mana. But I decided to keep, and then we drew a mountain, which is the best draw possible, aside from a tune with the Aether. Alright, so we know we're up against Panharmonicon deck at this point with Glintnest Crane, so whiffs on Glintnest Crane, and then I draw and play Long Tusk Cub. I do that instead of Incendiary Flowing because I want to start generating energy, and this isn't a threat damage-wise, and we can flow it next turn, or play Tireless Tracker. And so, generally, this Panharmonicon deck is really interesting, because it outgrinds us. It's actually a surprisingly good deck, I think. Alright, we flow here. In retrospect, I think it might have been better to just Tireless Tracker and then flow next turn. Especially if we drew a land next turn. But like if we draw a land, we can flow and then crack a clue as well, and attack with Tireless Tracker and Long Tusk Cub. So I think I misplayed there. I kind of like the tracker play a bit better, but this is good since we cleared the board, at least. Alright, so our opponent is going to Reflector Mage, and we did draw land. It comes into play tapped, but that's not a big deal since we're happy to Tireless Tracker and get our clue. So right now things are going well, at least in the front of us drawing two lands to hit our fourth land, which is what we wanted. And also our opponent is whiffing on Glintnest Cranes. Oh, no, there they hit, which hit the best card in the deck, Panharmonicon. That's what makes this deck function, and we have no way to remove it game one, so that is a huge problem for us. And here I just played out 2 creatures. I think that's fine. I could have also Tireless Tracker, Incendiary Float, and hit with this, but dumping creatures onto the board also seems good. And we've got a bunch of clues. But now Panharmonicon's in play, which is a huge problem. Drowner of Hope makes more 1/1s. Noxious Gear Hulk kills 2 creatures. Obviously, Noxious Gear Hulk is our main issue. That's gonna basically end the game if it drops down. So here we cleared out the Reflector Mage, dropped a Whirler Virtuoso so we can kill Glintnest Crane with Long Tusk Cub, and we want to end the game basically ideally in 2 turns. So Skyship is clears the board. Pause. Yeah, so Skyship clears the board, which isn't the end of the world, since we still have a board and our opponent still doesn't have blockers. They're stuck on 5 lands. So if we can basically dodge them drawing another land, we should win the game, since we'll be able to drop Bristling Hydra and kill our opponent next turn. And their 6 drops are the problem cards. Although Reflector Mage would also buy them another turn. And they draw their land, and hit Noxious Gear Hulk, and gain 6 life and clear our board, and are able to activate the Sky Sovereign. So here is the power of Panharmonicon. If we had to dodge that land, though, I think we would have won this game, but we did not. And spoiler alert, we're going to lose now. So Aetherworks Marvel is kind of our best hope to get back in this game, is hit confiscation coups basically and start stealing these important cards. And here comes Drowner, which is just completely game, even more so. We draw our card and then concede. Yeah, so that was a close game. Our opponent just barely was able to stay alive and go off with Panharmonicon. But I mean, our hand was fine, so it wasn't really because we had a bad hand that we lost. So yeah, sideboarding against Panharmonicon. So now we have ways to deal with Panharmonicon. We want, obviously, Ceremonious Rejection is the absolute best card against the Panharmonicon deck. It counters like everything relevant in their deck. Counters Skyship, Panharmonicon, Drowners, Displacers, because they're colorless. So if you want to shore up your matchup against them, honestly, I think it's almost worth it to just add another Ceremonious Rejection for the board if that deck starts picking up in popularity. And then Root Out is also amazing against Panharmonicon. I mean, Root Out's great no matter what, right? Natural State, on the other hand, is not so good because it doesn't get Panharmonicon. Root Out also gets the Skyship and Noxious Gear Hulk, so we don't really want these all that much. We might maybe want Jace. So bad cards are Whirler Virtuoso and Incendiary Flows, our least wanted cards. I think we want 1 Marvel, 1 Sky Sovereign, and then the Confiscation Coups and the Jaces. So basically, on the play, I would probably get rid of 3 Flows and 3 Virtuosos. I don't think that's exactly how I sideboarded for the matchup, but it was very close. I might have gotten rid of all the Virtuosos and kept in 2 Flows. but in retrospect, I guess we need 7 cards. So probably I just did this. Got rid of these and put in these. Incendiary Flow is basically just for clearing out Eldrazi displacers, which can otherwise be a huge problem, and Sky Sovereign does a good job of doing that. And Aetherworks Marvel is nice for finding confiscation coups or root outs or what have you, so we keep in one of those. Alright, let's move on to game 2. So I'm on the play, and I have an easy mulligan, and then this hand is not very good on the play because we don't have a 2-drop, but we have basically the best card in our deck, Ceremonious Rejection, Harness Lightning, and we get a Scry, and we get a bit of free energy, and we also have our man land, which is pretty good for this hand, so we keep it. And then scry that on top, and don't even play our Tune with the Aether because we want to draw it. And there's no hurry to play the Attune with the Aether. So basically we're putting our game plan on this Bristling Hydra at the moment. And attuning. And Prophetic Prism, we're definitely not Ceremonious Rejectioning at this point. Although, I say definitely not, but it would be reasonable to just try and mana screw our opponent if we thought that was an option, stopping the cycle of Prophetic Prism. I think it's pretty risky to try doing that when this card is so good in the matchup. But we're not going to be able to cast it on turn 4 since we're Bristling Hydraing anyways. So it would be reasonable, I guess, but I don't think it's worth it. Alright, so we're tuning. Not a good draw. Glintnest Crane actually whiffs again, which is very important for us since we aren't doing much, and we draw another land, but we have Bristling Hydra. So here it was actually painful to play Bristling Hydra because we have no answer to Panharmonicon other than Ceremonious Rejection. But fortunately our opponent doesn't have it. Instead they just have another Glintnest Crane that whiffs. And then they finally find a Pilgrim's Eye. And here we draw a perfect 5-drop on curve. Again, sucks because we can't keep up Ceremonious Rejection. Sucks because there's actually some pressure in the air, but I mean, we had nothing going on except Bristling Hydra before we drew that Jace. So happy to draw that. And then, boom, hit another relevant card, and we'll be able to keep up Ceremonious Rejection if we want to cast that. So that was basically the best possible way that turn could have gone. And then Jace gets attacked, and Distended Mindbender comes out of nowhere to ruin our day. Which, I mean, we just drew this. We just drew that, and then we get Mindbended. Leaves us with Ceremonious Rejection, which I'm not too unhappy with. And then we find a Tireless Tracker. Get a clue off of it. Leave up Ceremonious Rejection. And if I play Servant of the Conduit, I can actually attack with Bristling Hydra into the 5/5. I'll have enough energy to survive it. So I go ahead and do that, and then hit for an extra damage, since, I mean, our opponent has a lot of chump blockers, but we have to start pushing damage. while we're getting advantage from this Jace. Alright, Displacer is a huge issue. Since we don't have an answer to it, just decide to Ceremonious Rejection it. It might be a little spewy doing that instead of trying to find an answer, but I mean, it's easy to lose games holding on to your cards for too long. And we have a lot we can do with our mana, since we have Tireless Tracker. So I use Jace and don't find anything too exciting, but I still have my tracker to draw cards as well, and I can get in, and these two are gonna be on chumping duty to protect Jace while we're aggressive, and this game is going great. There's pretty much not too much we're worried about because there's no Panharmonicon to get double damage. Alright, even Noxious Gearhulk isn't that scary since it can't also clear out our Jace this turn. Then we happily chump. And we hit Root Out off our Jace Scry, which can kill Noxious Gearhulk. And we're getting close to having lethal. And here, I leave my Jace vulnerable to this Shambling Vent, but I know if my opponent is spending their turn activating Shambling Vent and attacking with Distended Mindbender and Shambling Vent at the Jace, I'm just going to win next turn unless they have specifically Reflector Mage or something amazing like that. So I'm willing to sack the Jace, basically, if our opponent is willing to do that, since I'll have clues coming anyways. Instead, it's Descend without Delirium. So my Jace +1 sees another Jace that I just decide to keep, because if we have Jace going at this point when our opponent has one card in hand, they're not winning the game if we have a Jace in play and they don't even have Panharmonicon. Alright, and we're able to hit for 4 with Wandering Funeral, and our opponent just gives it up to the massive superior dominance of Planeswalkers and creatures. And then we go to game 3, and we're on the draw, and we actually have a pretty good hand as well. 2-drop, removal, great 4-drop, great 5-drop, and all our colors of mana, so we're happy to keep this. And our opponent starts off with nothing. No 2-drop makes us happy as well. No Prophetic Prism or Hawk or Crane. Crane, Hawk, Crane, Fellow. Alright, so Pilgrim's Eye gets a Plains, fixing the mana, and keeps our Longtusk Cub from growing. So we draw a Tireless Tracker. We're basically set for mana because of Attune. And then Displacer, which we actually have an answer for already. Here I could have actually Bristling Hydrad and swung in with Longtusk Cub and Tireless Tracker after getting a clue and offered the trade, and I actually think I like that play a bit more than what I'm doing here, which is just Harness Lightning the Displacer outright, because we don't really care if we lose our Longtusk Cub or our Tireless Tracker, since we're developing a Bristling Hydra anyways, and getting rid of his creature as a trade. So I would have liked to have done that, and it also has the added bonus of saving our Harness Lightning, although we do have a Confiscation Coup as removal backup, so it's not that big a deal, but I would have preferred that, I think. and that might come back to hurt us later on. Alright, ship. And here we can confiscation coup the ship, which is pretty good. And so I'm liking my position right here. I mean, we have a skyship owned by Zerk XXXXX kisses. We're able to crew it and immediately kill off this crane and hit for a boatload of damage, literally a boatload. So I pay no energy there, and I don't want to play into descend this the sinful descent, whatever that card is, exile all creatures, so I just leave up my clue. And then Displacer gets played, and this is where I'm like, uh-oh, because Displacer can blink Sky Sovereign and return it to play under my opponent's control, so I can't crew Sky Sovereign as long as my opponent has mana up to blink it and the Displacer. So, like I was saying, this is a huge issue. If we had have traded off for the first Displacer, we would have had Harnessed Lightning to deal with this Displacer and basically won on the spot. Unfortunately, we did not do that. Alright, so we offer the trade here because our greatest dream in life is to get rid of this Displacer, but instead our Long Tusk Cub just gets blinked. And so we want to end the game, so we drop Bristling Hydra, and I'm trying not to play into Descent still here by not playing Servant of the Conduit. But as you can see, I am once again put into a pickle of a position because Drowner gets dropped, Sky Sovereign can still be blinked, and now I can't really get through because Displacer Drowner is just going to chump block and blink itself for days. And our opponent even is willing to get rid of this and play a second Inventor's Fair for an extra mana for Displacer. And we draw another land. And now I'm kind of in a tough position. So I offer this trade, but our opponent just blinks, and we get through no damage, and now I'm all in. I don't care about Descend anymore. I want my opponent to play to exile this board, because we're massively behind on this board. So right now I need an answer to Eldrazi Displacer. Any removal, even Jace bouncing it, would be huge. Instead we draw Root Out, which unfortunately these aren't artifacts or enchantments, they're just colorless. So more blinks, more Scions, and our opponent is going off. Hits with the Glintnest Crane, and we draw another land and can't really do anything. And now we're sort of resigned to our fate, just hoping for a miracle removal spell, and we would still be in it. Well, we would actually potentially win on the spot by hitting with Sky Sovereign and blasting through. Well, actually, Drowner can tap, so no, we're still in trouble even if we drew a removal. And I mean, we have a Root Out. I probably should have cashed in this Root Out on the Prophetic Prism. I was being optimistic, but like Noxious Gearhulk can get blinked, so I should have just cycled this immediately to try and find removal for the Eldrazi Displacer. That was a misplay. and then I just pack it in. And interesting going over the games, because we can target exactly where I tossed this game into the trash was by harness lightning that first Eldrazi displacer. I think we would have won if I hadn't have done that. Interesting.